Hey everybody, my name is Alana Trepler with Above the Dogs Multimedia, and welcome to the ATD Show. Today in the studio, I am here with Scott Welch with Welch Law. Scott, tell me about Welch Law and what you do there.
Hey, Lana. Thank you for having me, first of all. Yes. So Welch Law is, it's a small estate planning and business law law firm. We're located out in Lake St. Louis,
Nice.
Missouri. And really, we primarily practice in two areas, and that's estate planning and business law, and just try to take care of families and business owners, yeah.
So what is estate planning?
So estate planning, that's actually a common question I get, right? So estate planning it's an area of law that is really geared towards planning for the future when we're talking about our family assets. So that can be our personal stuff, like the stuff that's back here on your bookshelf, or our real property, or even our small businesses and our interest in our small business. But what it is it's an area of law that is geared towards putting a plan in place to make sure that the transfer of those assets and that wealth goes to the people we want it to go to at the times we want it to go to them and in the manner we want it to go to them. So that's kind of the overarching, theme of estate planning.
Right on. Okay, and evidently, obviously, estate planning is important or they wouldn't have a complete law for it.
Right.
So why is it so important?
Yeah, So for different people, there's different reasons why it's important. A lot of my young families I work with, so I work with a lot of young parents and parents of young, minor children. In that area, really what we're looking at, and one of the reasons why we do a lot of estate planning then is the emergency what if. What if something happens to mom and dad?
Sure.
What do we do then? So we're looking at, make sure we have guardianship provisions in place to take care of the kids, to raise the children. We're looking at maybe using a trust to stretch out when the children inherit their money so they don't get a big chunk of cash at 18.
Right.
Wow. I always joke with my clients, I know what I would have done at 18 if somebody left me some money, and it would have probably not been the right things.
Right.
So we're looking at that, trying to create those plans and maybe get some asset protection in case somebody gets sued for something.
Right.
But then as we get older, we're looking at, the end of life, and what does that look like for us? How do we transfer these assets now that we know that time's coming? Maybe it's a little bit sooner than we would like it to be.
Right.
But how do we transfer those assets? And, maybe the primary objective there is to avoid probate and to, have our assets go to our heirs and to our beneficiaries in a manner that, doesn't have to be public knowledge and go through the court system.
Right. Okay. Now I've heard of probate before, and I've heard that it's kind of a nightmare. So estate planning helps ease that process.
That's a big goal, right? I don't want to say yes, it's always going to work, but one of the big goals is to make that process smooth and as transactional as possible. So rather than having to, open up a probate case and go through the court with all of our assets, we want to try and limit that in many cases. We want to try and limit that so that we're doing this privately,
right,
and without the need for court intervention. Once we open that probate case, whether it's filing a will or opening up a full probate, we end up in a situation where everything's public knowledge. The heirs become public knowledge, the addresses, the assets, the amount of going through probate is kind of all public knowledge. Not fully,
right,
but it's accessible. So that's when you start getting the junk mail. We'll buy your house. We'll clean out your house. Type junk mail, so we like to get rid of that.
Kind of enough to be a nuisance.
It is. It's enough to be a nuisance, and it also takes a lot of time.
Right.
If we, there's two types of probate cases. There's small estate, which is under $40,000 in Missouri, and then there's regular probate or full probate, which is anything over $40,000 going through that court system. If you open up a full probate case, you're looking at a minimum of 6 to 7 months being in that probate process.
Wow.
But it can go up to a year, 2, 3, 4 years. Now usually the longer ones are because people are fighting.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So having an estate plan can help eliminate some of those bitter arguments in there.
Yeah. The right estate planning attorney sitting down and really kind of working through figuring out how do we limit those arguments. It really helps the family. Sometimes it's Sometimes there's an item. Bobby really wants Yoda.
Right.
So Bobby really wants Yoda, but so does Sam. They both really want him. So maybe, planning ahead and saying, okay, we're going to give, Yoda to this child.
Right.
Versus, having them fight it out in the court system.
Right.
Can really help in that way.
Or they just cut it in half and give them each a piece.
That works too sometimes, right? Depending on the asset.
There you go. Right on. Okay, so that's the estate planning part. Mm-hmm. Now, how does estate planning help with business? Because you mentioned business law too. So how does that work?
Yeah. So a lot of times we work with, so my practice is really bifurcated, the estate planning and the business planning.
Okay.
But, as business owners, as we're thinking about growing our business and building our baby, right? Mm-hmm. And what a lot of times happens is we're so focused on the here and now and the growth and the projections that we forget that at some point that business has to go to somebody else, right? So that's either going to be we're going to sell it at some point in our lives,
right?
Or after we pass away, somebody's going to come in and take over that business. So a lot of times when we work with business owners, we talk about that progression and what that looks like from a transfer of that business to the next generation, or is it going to go through the estate plan process because we're going to try and just sell everything off? So it can really just depend on what they're looking for, that the business owner is looking for.
Right.
Kind of dictates how that looks in the estate planning side.
And you obviously would help a business owner decide how they want their business to go.
A lot of times when I come in as the attorney, it's, what do you want? What are your goals?
Right.
Once I understand their goals, then we just start trying to figure out what is the best path to travel down to reach that goal. So it really comes down to the business owner's goals. Goals, right?
Right.
What do they want to see happen? So once we know that, it's really just putting those mechanisms in place to make that transfer happen. And sometimes it's, I want my business to go to my daughter Sally.
Right.
Well, okay, how are we going to make that happen, and how are we going to avoid any tax implications of that transfer? So we get a team involved. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on.
Oh my gosh, taxes, all that stuff. See, I never would have even thought of that.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have an attorney,
right.
Someone like you who knows the law, and
yes.
Can help get that done properly.
Right. Yeah. It's really building a team of advisors around you. That's what I tell a lot of the business owners I work with. My business, the legal side or the business side of my legal practice is really transactional. So it's helping businesses formulate plans, look at contracts, build contracts out, form their business, and then maybe even consider that transition of the business over a period of time, whether that's to a family member or an outside third party.
Now, you don't just help people who already have a business. You help people establish their business as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start them from the very beginning.
Yeah, we work with a lot of startups. We do work with a lot of startups, trying to figure out what type of business they want to create, whether it's going to be an LLC or a corporation or a partnership. Right. I'd say that majority of people fall into the limited liability company, the LLC category. Right. But, then once we get that started, thinking about what documents we need to put in place to help them run their business as well.
Sure.
So is that an employee handbook? Are those, 1099 contractor agreements, non-disclosure agreements, all those things to protect them and their business value.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's good to have an attorney that you can talk one-to-one with, rather than going to I'm going to start a smallbusiness.com and trying to do something online. Right. You don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think so. I think the role of an advisor is huge. I tell my clients all the time, there are things that I'm very good at, and there are things that I know nothing about or very little about.
Right.
And so building that team of advisors is important because not one person can do it all.
Of course.
So a lot of times when we're talking about the tax implications, I work with my clients' CPA. We want to build that team ultimately, and that's kind of the foundation of Welch Law is really building that team approach and working as I don't want to say this the wrong way, but kind of like a board of directors, right? Kind of like that team of advisors that come in and say, here's what we have, here are your goals. How do we accomplish this in each category of concern?
Right.
Legal, accounting, taxes, financial,
right.
That kind of stuff. So
cool.
Yeah.
So you just kind of merge in there and work together with that person and then with the business owner and then help them either put their team together or work with the team they currently have.
Absolutely. Yeah, when possible. As long as all the permissions are given that they're supposed to be given.
Yeah.
That's why I prefer to practice. It's a lot more peaceful. There's something to be said about working as a team and having a common mission, a common goal that we're aiming for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so you have a very unique tagline, and I think that it would be really good for all of us to hear the tagline, and you tell us a little bit about that. How did you come up with that?
Sure. Yeah. So Welch Law's tagline is, "We didn't invent the law; we just reinvented how it's practiced."
Okay.
And it really it took me a while to come up with that because I had to dig deep. When I first started the practice, I knew I wanted to be different. I knew I wanted my firm to be different.
Right.
But I didn't really fully understand what that meant. So over the course of probably the first year and a half of building out my practice, I started thinking about, what does it really mean to be Scott Welch? What does it really mean to be running this law firm? And I, after reading some books and just really doing a lot of soul searching, I realized that we are just different. It's not that we really are reinventing the law. The legislature does that.
Right.
But it's how it's practiced. It's the idea that I come into work every day in jeans and a polo and my sneakers, right?
Right.
It's the idea of building team approaches to working with clients. It's the idea of really just wanting to serve and get to that mission for everybody involved, or to accomplish that mission for everybody involved. And that's where it came from. It's just a passion of helping, So.
Very good. I love that. That's incredible.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It'd be nice to know you have somebody like, business owners or estate planning to know that they have somebody like real on their side to help them with their life and their business goals. And then all of that's incorporated if you're a business owner and you have a family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all
Well,
incorporated.
and I love the word you just used, which is real.
Oh, yeah.
That is a huge piece of it.
Yeah.
It really is. That's I think a lot of people get turned off by attorneys, and it's some of it's a fear of talking to attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, in the last 3 years since I've been running my firm and wearing a polo and just jeans and just talking to people like they're real, instead of like this, whatever a lot of attorneys kind of persona they put on, I find that my clients open up to me a lot more.
Sure.
They talk to me. We get to know each other, and
Right.
it makes it so much more wonderful.
Well, this is an intimate business that you're in,
It
especially
is.
with the estate planning part.
Absolutely.
People aren't going to open up to you and tell you everything that you need to know in a comfortable way unless they are comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've noticed it firsthand. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's real.
It's real. It is. Maybe that's my next tagline.
Get real.
Get real.
Get
I like
real.
it. I like it.
Me too. All right, let's work on that.
Yeah,
Right
we'll
on.
figure something out.
Okay. All right, so if somebody wanted to get real with you and see how you reinvented how the law is practiced, how would they do that?
Sure, they could look me up on Google, just at the website. It's welchlawllc.com.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a call at 636-352-1222, or just shoot me an email, scott@welchlawllc.com. And I'm on all the social media platforms as well, so I'm everywhere.
Right on. There you go.
I make it easy.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, very good.
Awesome.
I look forward to watching you grow and learning more about your practice and how you're helping the rest of the community. This is going to be great.
Thank you, Alana. No, it's been a pleasure coming in, talking to you, and I'm doing the same. I'm waiting to see what your next big adventure is.
All right.
So can't
Well,
wait to see it.
We're doing it together right now.
Excellent. Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for
All
being
right.
on the show, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep.